Hi, and welcome back to Slapshot Smack Talk. No, not a tongue twister, but try saying that 5 times. I am Erik Janssen. Indeed, I am. The guy who lives in London, England, across the Atlantic, who somehow tries to talk all things hockey. But I am joined by Mark Lepage, who's a former Montrealer living in New York. He's decked out his tiny New York apartment with Montreal paraphernalia just to make sure he remembers where he's from. Montreal Gazette reporter, nay, poet laureate of music reviews, and I guess the music critic. But why would I have a music critic from the Montreal Gazette living in New York on a hockey show? Mark Lepage, explain that to me.
Well, like you, Erik, I'm a Montrealer. Well, I'm from Montreal, and I think you can be a massive Habs fan and a rock critic. I don't see a contradiction there. After all, let's face it, they both play in the Forum. Think about that.
True, and one thing we should note as well. I don't want to say this is nepotism or anything, but we used to be roommates at one point, way back in the day, when we were less gray, when we were less haggard. But I think we were still haggard back in those days as well. So, what we're going to do now is in Slapshot Smack Talk, episode 2, might I add, trivia time. Mr. Lepage, I'm going to put this to you because Keith Yandle, he's still playing every game that he can consecutively. He currently has 800, at the time of recording, 881 consecutive games played. And do you know who currently holds the all-time record of most consecutive games played in the NHL?
Do you want the answer?
I would like the answer, please.
I know that it used to be Doug Jarvis.
Doug Jarvis is a correct answer. He is the current holder at 964 consecutive games played in the NHL. But that is not the question I'm posing you, my friend.
Okay.
Keith Yandle, who's currently at 881 at the time of recording, consecutive games played. Who is second? So if Keith Yandle all of a sudden decides, okay, I'm done, my streak is over, who is now currently active with the most consecutive games played? Is it A, Brent Burns of San Jose Sharks? Or is it B, Patrick Marleau of the San Jose Sharks? Or is it C, Phil Kessel, currently of the Arizona Coyotes? So there's your ABC. Is it Burns, Marleau, or Kessel? Answer later on the show. Let that cogitate in your brain for a while.
All
right. So that's your trivia. Moving on. First period. Okay, now looking at the standings. What we do know now is that the Bruins are flying high for now. Since you're in New York, it's so tight because look at those Islanders. People wrote them off before the season started, but they're not doing too bad. Those New York Islanders.
I know the Bruins are flying, but I think the Islanders. First of all, I have a soft spot for the Islanders in a way that I don't have for the Rangers. It's not even that I don't like the Rangers. I just have no respect for them. but I'm glad the Islanders are good. What John Tavares did to that team was a scandal, humiliating them that way. It's not a bad thing for hockey for the Islanders to be good. They're the sort of they're always going to be the little brother next to the Rangers, even though, in living memory, they're the far better team. But I'm not that surprised that they're good. When they lost Tavares, everybody figured that they were done forever, and instead, they went on a playoff run.
But the Islanders, now you've gone to Islanders games and Rangers games, right? In your stay, now that you live in the city so nice, and named it twice, and the difference is quite shocking, isn't it?
Here's the story. The only reason I've gone to a Rangers games is because Bob Gainey, Montreal Canadiens legend, got me the tickets. I actually sort of had a bit of a casual friendship with him for a while, and we would go to concerts together. And then when the Habs were in New York, I'd get the odd pair of tickets. You can't get them otherwise. It's like Knicks tickets. Getting Rangers tickets that's very difficult. Islanders tickets, I think the last time I went to see the Islanders, the tickets cost $12. It's easy to get them. Well, actually, I saw them in the Barclays Center, which is okay to see a hockey game. But it's fun to go. And more importantly, you actually can. If you're a hockey fan, at a certain point, even if it's not the Habs playing, you sort of just want to see a game and you want to see it live. And certainly when they actually allow people back in the rink, I'm going, absolutely going. But going to see the Islanders is the only way you can do it here. It's just too difficult to get Rangers tickets. And I don't even know why. I mean, to be quite honest, of the original 6 teams, they're easily the most futile of them.
Speaking of Rangers, and Alexis Lafreniere, their big hope and their big golden child, he sucks.
Yeah, you know what? Obviously, if you know anything about newspapers here, the New York Post, and to a lesser extent the Daily News, the ranting tabloid, and they've all written off Lafreniere. I'm going to push back on that. This kid is 19 years old. 19 years old. You don't get drafted number 1 if you have no talent. All due respect to Doug Wickenheiser, God rest his soul. But he's 19. And anybody with a long memory remembers that the first couple of seasons that Guy Lafleur played were not electrifying. But he didn't light up the league in those first years. He wasn't horrifically bad, but he was not Guy Lafleur. I mean, this kid is not Alex Galchenyuk. I think he will pan out, when he's not a teenager anymore. He's a teenager. Not every teenager is Sidney Crosby. Not every teenager is Connor McDavid.
No, true. But 16 games, 2 goals, 0 assists, and a plus-minus of -7. I think it's the Rangers' fault to put so much pressure on the kid, throw him in every game, and then they should have nurtured him a bit more. I don't know. Do you call him up immediately? Time will tell. But that's the Rangers for you. I don't know. It's it's
bad team. Bad franchise. More money than God, but I agree. I agree with you there. There are better ways to manage this kid. That's all.
The Washington Capitals still straggling in there, but the big news this week: Henrik Lundqvist, who's had to take the season off. He's moved from Rangers to Washington, as we all know. He's supposed to. We haven't even seen him in a Capitals jersey yet because he had to get heart surgery. And not only is he just had a heart surgery a few weeks ago, he's now jogging. He's people spotted him jogging. He's running around. And here's a guy with a heart surgery, and he's already running half marathons. It's ridiculous. Well done. Well, all the best for Henrik Lundqvist.
I mean, if you have heart surgery, how do you ever play hockey?
Yeah,
doesn't the doctor say that's it? You're done?
I think God forbid. I think, but we're not going to see him this season at all. Let's face it. He's not going to be, lacing the skates and going between the pipes this season. Let's hope he comes back next season. I don't know. Have we seen the last of Henrik Lundqvist? Olympic gold medal. Let's face it. The Pittsburgh Penguins, by the way, Ron Hextall, former Flyers legend between the pipes for those Philadelphia Flyers back in the 80s and 90s. He's now in the front office at Pittsburgh with Brian Burke, of all people.
How do you go? I mean, in all honesty, it shows you that there's no real loyalty. How do you go from the Flyers to the Penguins? I mean, they loathe one another. That's genuine hatred. I don't know how that works. I have to say, I'm kind of a Brian Burke fan. I respect Brian. I said that like we're buddies, but he knows a lot about hockey. I don't give a damn about the Penguins, but I think they'll do fine there. I mean, they know a lot about hockey. You could have worse people. I'm just surprised that it's Hextall. That's a little odd. I mean, is Bobby Clark gonna, become a Bruins head office guy. Like, it doesn't really make sense. But
I know. It was like when A-Rod was going to buy the Mets. It was like, but that was never happened. Never should have. One more thing about this division before we move on. I originally said that the dark horse and the surprise out of this division were going to be the Buffalo Sabres. Whoop, 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 whoop.
yeah, were you in Buffalo when you were like deluded?
I just thought Taylor Hall and Stahl were going to help Jack Eichel out finally, and you got to feel sorry for those Sabres. Is it a hockey town?
You know what? I've never met a person from Buffalo I didn't like, but there are just some cities that will never win, and that's one of them. Buffalo, it's a great uniform. It's a good name for a team. They have a tremendous history. I mean, the French connection. But let's face it, when you have that much talent and you don't win, it's just because it's Buffalo. I mean,
I figure the new Buffalo Bills ownership who took over the Sabres as well, they're going to change things. Buffalo going to make Buffalo happy again, but not happening. Over to the Central Division, we're looking at the Canes and the Panthers, sort of battling it out for first place there. And can we have a rant about the? By the way, Detroit still sucks. That is a shame. Those Red Wings.
It is a shame.
What do you get? They move into a brand new arena. They're out of the Joe Louis arena, and that just hasn't worked out for them. The Panthers. This is my favorite story. The past 2 weeks. The Panthers. The Florida Panthers have allowed 5,000 people now, with the restrictions sort of being lifted in some states. They allowed 5,000 fans to come in to the arena to watch a game. Less than 4,000 showed up. 3,700 attendance. They couldn't sell out even when it's only 20% capacity.
Didn't both those teams fail to sell out playoff games? Both Florida teams?
I don't know. Tampa Bay, there's sort of Tampa Bay is a tough one because they've got history. Now you got to give them the kudos that they've established themselves in history and all this, and now they got a hardcore fan base. And I've met many people who are Lightning fans because they've won Stanley Cups and they've have history and they have stories and they've enticed fans. Panthers will never have that.
Now there's a story. It's kind of apocryphal, but I believe it. Some guy in Montreal on Montreal radio did the math, and he realized that it was cheaper for a family of 4, dad, mom, and 2 kids, to fly to Florida and watch a Tampa Bay Lightning game and fly back, cheaper than buying tickets to see the Habs in the Bell Center. And if you get free T-shirts, the tickets are probably $25. You can't do that in Montreal. You think about it. What are the tickets going for in the Bell Center? $250, like, for decent seats?
If you get them, yeah.
That's $1,000 for the tickets, the parking, the kids want jerseys. They're $200, $250 a throw. A slice of pizza is $20. Before you even have the first watered down $18 beer, you're like $1,200 into this night out. And what happens if you're playing the Bruins and they beat us 6-1? Imagine $1,300 to watch that. It's ridiculous.
First intermission. Okay. Now, is it too soon now? Because now we've already got newspapers in Canada and the States as well saying it, because this would have been, as of yesterday, at the time of recording, February 20th, we're 1 year away from the closing ceremonies of the Winter Olympics. Okay. So 1 year from now, we already know who's won the gold in hockey. Okay. Will it be Canada? Will it be the Team USA? I think Team USA is stronger now, but they're already started listing the NHL players that should be going. Is it too soon? I mean, first of all, the NHL haven't cut a deal yet with the Olympic Committee and the NHLPA, whether NHL players are going in the first place and shutting down the league for 3 weeks. So that's one thing. But another thing is, hopefully the pandemic's over by then. But A, is it too soon? to start talking about Olympic selection, or is it NB? Who should be on there?
Okay. You know what? I'll say this. I guaranteed to my daughter. Apparently, everybody 18 and under is a huge Oasis fan, not just in England. And I guaranteed to her. I told her it's not if, it's when. Oasis will reunite, and NHL players will go to the Olympics. There's no point to an Olympic gold medal if there are no NHL players. Nobody's going to watch it. I don't know what the deal they sign will be, but they will sign. We can probably, I mean, top of our heads, you can probably name the 10 Canadian players who are going to be there, like, or 10 of them anyway. The interesting thing will be, are some of those older guys not going to be there? Because Shea Weber has been a fixture forever. And I don't think Shea Weber is making that team. Sydney is. Crosby.
They do well. Yeah, no. And will Carey Price be in goal for Team Canada?
I mean, look, Connor McDavid's going. It'd be interesting to fill out that roster because a lot of those guys that were automatic are a bit older now on D, and there's going to be a lot of new faces. I mean, some of those guys that we got used to seeing every Olympics are not going to be there. I mean, how many times did Jerome Iginla make that team? Some of those roster spots will be interesting.
Yeah, well, the Team USA, you'll have Max Pacioretty. I'm assuming Phil Kessel will go.
Yeah, but if I'm the US, I'm hoping that we have some younger faces than Phil Kessel.
I know. And in a way, here I am saying, is it too soon to start talking about this? But I'm actually glad we're talking about this because you're right. We do need NHL players to go.
Oh, yeah.
Because let's face it, 2018, it was a dud. People, they couldn't sell out any of the games. But when there were NHL players there, it was the first event to sell out of all the events in the Winter Olympics. Everyone wanted to see the dream teams. It wasn't not just one team. It's the dream teams. It's the best Finland has to offer. It's the best USA has to offer. It's the best Russia has to offer. And it's our only World Cup. When I say our, I mean all hockey fans around the world. It's the only way that you can actually have the best of the best. Let's face it, Canada Cups come and go. Those World Cups of hockeys come and go. World Championships of hockey that are every year. They're a little diluted. Olympic hockey with the best on offer is the way to go. The old adage of if Olympic gold is a pinnacle of success for your sport, then should it be an Olympic sport? Yes, I will say yes for hockey. Ice hockey, as it's now, of course, known in Olympics. Would you say that with tennis? No. Would you rather win Wimbledon or would you rather win, the Olympic gold in tennis? If you're an amateur, why can you have both? But would you rather win the Stanley Cup? Would you rather win Olympic gold? You can do both. But, World Cup, would you rather win Olympic, of football, when I mean soccer football, would you rather win the World Cup or Olympic gold?
Well, you'd rather win the World Cup?
No. If you're a football player, soccer, football,
yeah, okay,
World Cup over Olympics.
Oh yeah, of course. But if I had to choose between the Habs winning the Stanley Cup and a gold medal, I'm choosing the Stanley Cup at this point.
Fair enough. That's true. I know, but it's club over country. That's a different kettle of fish. But if you're a player, yeah, you want to. If you're from middle nowhere Sweden, do you want to win the Stanley Cup or do you want to win gold for your country? What makes you a bigger celebrity? Time will tell. Now, that's the end of the first intermission. On to the second period. Now we're going to focus on the West. Looks like St. Louis Blues and the Vegas Golden Knights are vying for the top spot as the time of recording. It's a weird division. It's still too early to tell. Who's going to come out of the top four in this division. But the first thing we can do is talk about Lake Tahoe. At the time of recording, we've already seen the first game between the Colorado Avalanche wearing the Nordiques jerseys, retro style, against the Vegas Golden Knights. Outdoors, beautiful setting, gorgeous Lake Tahoe with the ice, but they play one period everyone's, including the officials, were slipping and sliding all over the slush because the sun came out. It was too warm, and they had a 1 hour intermission. And then they said, "Oh no, let's play at 9 p.m. Pacific time when it's dark." So it was like the longest game from start to finish. Hey, look, we've had 30 outdoor games since the first one in 2003, which was between Montreal and Edmonton at the Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. Temperature minus 20, because you can always rely on the Edmonton to be damn cold. But this, is this a disaster? I'll say no, because, hey, is this the first hiccup after 30 outdoor games? It was a beautiful setting. Two teams that are, playing outdoors in front of no fans, might I add.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts?
In all honesty, I don't know if you saw when Gary Bettman, the commissioner, went on NBC and officially said, "Yeah, we're postponing it till tonight." And then he effectively said that they'd been banking on it being overcast, okay, to protect the ice. Hey, Gary, newsflash: Lake Tahoe is a resort where it's sunny. Okay, the sun's going to come out, and the ice is going to melt. This is not rocket science. In all sincerity here, you said it. There are no fans there. It looked beautiful. That's a lovely photo to take. Take the photo. There's the idea of staging that game in a sunny resort town with no fans where the ice is going to melt. I did think it was a disaster. I thought it was embarrassing. And it was pure Bettman nonsense. And we can add, let's move on to the Las Vegas Golden Knights, because think about this: when a team gets a franchise, expensive franchise, it's baked in that you're going to stink for 10 years. Except this time, this team gets the entry draft from God's brain. They're a contender 5 minutes after they formed the team. I mean, if you're a team that came into the NHL and suffered for 10, 5, 20 years, you must have looked at that and thought, man, that is rigged. That is rigged nonsense. That they get a team that good the minute they enter the league. And that was pure, rigging the system by Gary Bettman, just like that game was yesterday. When he announced that they were going to play at 9 p.m., i.e. midnight my time, i.e. 5 a.m. your time, I said, you know what? This is like the guy in Vegas who keeps hitting the same number on the roulette. You've lost. Bag this one. But no.
They're having another game of Sunday. They've decided to make it 7 p.m. Local time, just to ensure there's no more like slushiness. We'll see if that happens. Tune in next week. Well, we're just tuning in NHL. By the way, the record for the highest attended game ever in the history of the NHL was between the Leafs and the Red Wings at the University of Michigan Stadium, 105,000 people, and of course, and you can rely on Michigan being cold that time of year as well.
And I respect that. I would say also, we can laugh about the slushy ice, but the fact is, even finishing that period, if one of those $8 million a year players twists his ankle in that lousy ice, how good is that going to look? They don't make the playoffs because they played a dopey game outdoors with no fans in the sunshine. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Total unbelievable mistake.
But other things in the West, by the way, the Dallas Stars, I'm not going to make fun of them here because tragically the people have died and all this, but the irony of they've now Dallas Stars have delayed, they've postponed 4 games because of ice. I know you can't play ice hockey in Texas because of ice. Again, I don't want to poke fun at them because they are going through a tough time down in Texas. They're not used to that kind of weather. But the Dallas Stars, formerly the Minnesota North Stars, here's the scary thing: Minnesota. The Minnesota Wild, it's the 20th anniversary of them entering the league. And you think, wow, where did that time go? 20 years of the Minnesota Wild. They really haven't done anything. The Minnesota Wild are not as prolific as a franchise as the Minnesota North Stars used to be before they moved down to Dallas. And there's a reason why NHL hockey doesn't seem to work in the state of Minnesota. And you know why? It's because the state of Minnesota loves hockey. Oh, the irony. Everybody has a kid, cousin, daughter, son that plays college hockey, high school hockey. The whole state is hockey crazy, but they're so like into the minor leagues and the lower leagues, the youth leagues, that they don't have time for the NHL. But it's the land of 1,000 lakes, whatever it is. They deserve a hockey franchise. It's too bad they don't have a good one. By the way, out of this division, and here's where I'm glad nobody takes my advice about fantasy tips or betting or anything like that, because I tipped the San Jose Sharks to be the dark horse coming out of this division. Oops. Second intermission. Okay, now here's what we're going to do now, because this is the segment where I put aside for pulp culture, literacy, and this week's hockey book of the week. I went through my extensive book collection, and this one's special to me, because if you're this one brings out the inner hockey geek within you. It's called "What's the Score" by Liam McGuire, and I've had the joy and the chance to actually talk to Liam McGuire, and his book "What's the Score" is just a dream if you're into, like, let's face it, if somebody asks you, hey, who won the Stanley Cup in 1940? That's probably the most boring trivia question to ask you. Is, okay, the New York Rangers. That's something you can easily Google. That's something you can easily memorize. But it's the whole thing about going down a rabbit hole. When you research something, and then you find something, and then you find something else, and then you find another, like, little nugget. It's like, oh my God, there's like a chain reaction of how cool it is who won the 1940 Stanley Cup, right? And it goes something like this. Now, 1940, the New York Rangers beat the Toronto Maple Leafs for the Stanley Cup. Did you know that is also the first time that teams flew to playoff games that year? It's the first time teams in the NHL boarded aircraft. It was the second year of the best of seven format in the playoffs. And also, the cup-winning goal was scored by Brian Hextall. Yeah, Brian Hextall, the grandfather of Ron Hextall. And that 1940 Stanley Cup win for the New York Rangers was their last Stanley Cup win until 1994. Yeah. And since 1994, that's the last time the New York Rangers won. So there's little tidbits like that What's the Score gives you. Like, it gives you a little bit rabbit hole, a bit of like extra stuff, layers to trivia questions.
I'm a little surprised that they flew during World War II. That's interesting. I would have thought that the planes were busy, but
don't forget that the United States was still neutral in those times, didn't enter the war till late 1941. So that's my book recommendation of the week. What's the Score by Liam McGuire. He's going to be on our show eventually one of these days, and he's always value for useless and useful information.
Absolutely.
Moving on, it's also where pop culture. We talk about like film references, and I'm Happy Gilmore with Adam Sandler. Now, is it a hockey film? Kinda, but this week is a 25th anniversary of the release of Happy Gilmore. Yes, I know, that makes me feel old too. It's been 25 years since Happy Gilmore came out. If any of you seen it, it's about Adam Sandler. He's a hockey player in a bush league. He has the wicked hat slap shot. That goes 1,000 miles an hour, but he just can't, he just can't behave himself on the ice. He takes up golfing. Long story short, he has a most ridiculous running up stance to hit the golf ball that goes 1,000 yards. And he reenacted this week, his Happy Gilmore teeing off. Check it out. It's available on all good websites. The thing is, he wears a Boston Bruins jersey in the film while playing, and even though he's a Rangers fan, but he also has an affinity for the Boston Bruins because he grew up loving Terry O'Reilly and Bobby Orr and all that kind of stuff. So his heart goes closer towards the Bruins and the Rangers, but he's a Yankees fan as well. Does that and a New York Jets fan as well? Can you forgive him for being a Jets fan, a Yankees fan, and a Bruins fan?
He was apparently good in the last two films he made, that they were more serious films. But
Uncut Gems is actually a hidden gem. Actually, I recommend Uncut Gems. Yeah.
I actually might watch that, but I got to tell you, like, he drives me nuts.
All right, it's as we say here in the United Kingdom, Adam Sandler, he's Marmite. You either love him or hate him. You know.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, if I met him and he was in a Jets cap, I'd strike up a conversation with him.
There you go. All right, but not a Rangers cap. Trivia time. Time to put this trivia to bed now. Okay, I asked you earlier. Keith Yandle is currently the active player with the most consecutive NHL games with 881. But I asked you, who was the one with the who's second? Is it A, Brent Burns? Is it B, Patrick Marleau? Or is it C, Phil Kessel?
I'm going to guess Brent Burns, because I think Patrick Marleau was a healthy scratch at some point.
Let's see where you might or might not have gone wrong here. All right. Okay. Patrick Marleau currently has 869.
Oh, I'm wrong.
Phil Kessel currently has 860.
Wow.
Brent Burns, 556.
Damn it.
No, that's I thought, like, that was a fly in the ointment. Like, maybe it couldn't have been Brent Burns because that's ridiculous. But no, it's Patrick Marleau is still playing at the age of 41. All right, moving on to the third period now. We are talking the True Love Strong and Free, the North Division, as we call it now. Now, this is where all the Canadian teams are in the same division. Is it a good thing or a bad thing that I started off the season saying, oh, isn't it great? All Canadian teams in the same division. Now I'm like, I don't know if I like this. It doesn't guarantee that a Canadian team goes in the final. Yeah, but whatever.
I mean, if you think about it, like, my dad watched, there were 6 teams. He played everybody 700 times. I miss playing the Blackhawks, my other team. I miss seeing the Bruins, etc. I miss seeing teams I like playing against. I miss seeing enemies. The only thing I don't like about it right now is those horrific third jerseys. The troubling thing, especially after watching last night, is that we're going as far as the Leafs allow us to go. I'm not a Leaf mocker. That's a good team. It's been a good team for years. They're entertaining to watch. They have deficiencies, but I mean, when they get going, that is a steamroller.
They are top of the division at the moment. Yep. Yeah.
I'm glad that the Vancouver Canucks stink, because I loathe that franchise and I loathe their fans. I'm glad that the Senators are awful, because it's a horrible. The rink, as you said, the rink is ridiculous. The fans are arrogant. I'm sorry to say. I respect the Oilers. I respect the Oil, because that's a real franchise, with wins. I despise the Flames, and I like the Winnipeg Jets. So
okay, well, that's where there's your Mark Lepage's menu of things he likes and hates. All right, well, the thing is, Leafs on top. Austin Matthews, you were saying earlier that, God, is there any way of stopping this guy? But those Leafs are looking good. I hate to admit it. But yeah, you got to give them kudos, and it's good for the market and good for Ontario and good for people. But you got to feel for Ottawa. Poor Ottawa. The problem with Ottawa now, the reason why they suck, and the reason why their fans are falling off the bandwagon ages ago, their arena is in a place called Kanata, Knata, and it's not even in Ottawa. It's like in the outskirts. It's a pain to get to. It's not like you can be downtown and have a couple of beers or meals. Hey, should we go to see a Sens game? Yeah, let's go. It's a trek. It's a pain in the ass to get to. But they're a rebuilding team. Let's hope that that's. But let's talk about Connor McDavid here. The whole thing is, is he the new Sidney Crosby? Is he as good or better? Well, this week the stats don't lie. He's actually proven he's as good, because he is now got to 500 points in the exact amount of games as Sidney Crosby did. So Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby? I guess, again, too soon to tell whether who is going to be the better player towards the end of their career. But your thoughts, Connor McDavid, new Sidney Crosby?
Imagine what they will look like on Olympic ice together. I mean, wow. But I would say, look, when I was a full-time rock critic, everybody would say, why can't all these old bands retire and let the new bands take over? And the fact is, you looked back and you said, because the new bands are no good. The fact is, the theory I developed was the champ is the champ until you knock him out. Even if the champ is at home eating Pringles and drinking Schlitz beer and he's 237 pounds of flab, he's still the champ until he's knocked out. Sidney Crosby is still the champ until he's knocked out. Having said that, Connor McDavid not only scores highlight reel goals, but he makes them look like shinny. Like, I mean, the goal he scored 2 weeks ago where he skated through the entire team, it didn't even look hard. I mean, it was ridiculous. He's ridiculously phenomenal talent. But I'll tell you, it's another cautionary tale. The Oilers have drafted first, I think, 37 years in a row. They still stink. I mean, you don't build a team based on 5 Guy Lafleurs. That's not a hockey team. Connor McDavid, he can play on my team anytime he wants. But, it's a top-heavy team. You need the other players. It's why, the Leafs are very good, but I'm not entirely sold on their goaltending. And I mean, it's a short season, so you can probably get away with just being a team that scores 1 billion goals. But sort of off topic, I think Connor McDavid is phenomenal, but I still, if I'm choosing one of those players for Game 7, I choose Crosby.
Interesting. Okay. No, well, that's the thing, because who's a better leader? I think still too early to say whether if that McDavid isn't.
Sidney Crosby is a winner. He's won at every level. He's why we won that gold medal. That was an amazing team. But if he does not score that goal, which he created out of thin air, we don't beat the Americans. And Connor McDavid, phenomenal talent, but look, Sidney's got the rings.
Until McDavid lifts Lord Stanley, I agree. It's I know. It's. I think it's unfair for the press to constantly making the comparison. Oh, the new Sidney, will it be as good as the great one as well? It's like, leave the kid, let the kid play. All right, now here's where we have to inhale and then exhale, because I guess I'm sure our listeners and viewers are not going to enjoy this. 2 Montrealers moaning about the Montreal Canadiens now. They started off strong, straight out of the gates, looking, oh my God, like Toffoli is leading a scorer in the NHL. Can you believe it? Now the wheels are beginning to not fall off, but I think Montreal. What was unbelievable is everyone either defending Carey Price or the majority bashing Carey Price. Get rid of him, trade him. He's a bum. He's done nothing for us. He's been our best goalie in the past decade. What do you do?
My close personal friend and from colleague Mike Boone, TV critic and also hockey writer, actually says that Carey Price may be the greatest Habs goalie. Certainly not with rings and cups, but stats-wise. Bergevin, Habs GM Marc Bergevin made a lot of great moves in the offseason, and probably none better than getting Jake Allen. Jake Allen has won a cup. He's a bona fide. He could start games or be a starting goalie. Having said that, I don't think that we're contenders without Carey Price. I know that the stats so far this year are not good. You ask players around the league, even now, and a lot of them are going to say, yeah, he's the best. Hardest to beat, et cetera, et cetera. It's easy to smash the hell out of him. And it's easier so far because, let's face it, the stats, he's nowhere near his career stats, and he's nowhere near Jake Allen. I mean, if you looked at those, if you took just the stats line, you'd start Jake Allen. But he's still the starting goalie, and he will get better.
End of the game. Thank you very much. Basically, one thing as well I haven't mentioned. I'm wearing an Oxford University hockey jersey, which was given to me by players from the Oxford University hockey team themselves. Way back when I did a report for Channel 5 on the Cambridge-Oxford varsity hockey game, because that is still the oldest hockey trophy in the world. People don't realize this. It's bizarre. The Hockey Hall of Fame recognizes the Cambridge-Oxford varsity game as the oldest trophy. And not many people know this as well. Lester B. Pearson, former Prime Minister of Canada, when he was a student at Oxford, played varsity hockey. So
can I say it looks like it was designed by a 10-year-old boy?
No, I think it's pretty good. I think it's a solid jersey. You know, it's simple. It looks like 1920s, 1930s kind of retro kind of thing. You know, so it's.
Let's face it, it's better than the Panthers jersey.
Yes, that's the worst logo in the NHL. The Seattle Kraken, which we'll see next season, is probably the worst logo at the moment. But I'll give it time.
It's green and blue, right?
It looks like a snake, which is a kraken. Which I found
what they don't get is that green and blue don't go together. I know that it's the Pacific Northwest thing, but they don't go together. Which is
the old adage: blue and green should never be seen except in a washing machine.
There you go.
Yeah.
And there you go. And why the Vancouver Canucks jersey sucks.
Well, thank you for the smack talk, Mark Lepage on Slapshot Smack Talk.
My pleasure, Erik Janssen.
We will. We shall reconvene. I'm sure you'll be back on this show sooner than later. We can moan about all things. We'll try to keep it not so Montreal heavy. Yeah. But that's what Montrealers do. We just moan and complain. Okay. Thank you very much for all you viewers and listeners out there. Follow us on all those social handles and Instagram and all those things. And I don't know what I mean. I'm still a Luddite dinosaur, but yeah, we got a Facebook page, Slapshot Smack Talk. Again, say that 5 times really fast and get back to me. Thank you very much, everybody. Mark Lepage. Until next time.
Thanks, folks.